Let's get reaction now to the President's address. We're joined by the interim leader of the Democratic Alliance, John Steenhuisen. Good evening, John, and thank you for your time tonight. Did we hear a strategy to curb the spread of the virus from the President tonight?
No, I don't think we did at all. I think what we saw tonight was a President who was absolutely determined to blame citizens rather than take responsibility for the fact that his government has completely failed to plan properly for the peak that we all knew was coming. We've been through the hardest and one of the most longest lockdowns in the world, and yet the President had to himself admit this evening that none of our hospitals or provinces are ready for what is to come. And I think that many, many South Africans are going to be very distracted by the bait and switch strategy of government this evening. We're talking about alcohol bans and curfews, when the real question we should be asking is, what did government do in the 100 days that we were in lockdown? If you were not able to prepare the field hospitals, if you were not able to make sure that there were oxygen cylinders on standby, if you're not able to make sure there were sufficient beds, and I'm not talking about the pine beds we've seen from Furniture City at many of these so-called field hospitals, what were you doing? And I think it's a classic bait and switch that's been attempted by the President.
Well, let's hear what the President says. He's done 20 million screening, 2 million tests, 28,000 hospital beds have been made available, over 37,000 private quarantine beds for those who can't isolate, 1,700 additional ventilators, and 12,000 ventilators are still on the way by the end of July and August. That's what has been done so far.
Absolutely dispute those figures, and I think if anybody goes on the ground to check out whether in fact those figures match up to what he's talking about, will see that it is absolutely not the case. We've seen already pictures emerging today of the so-called field hospital in Stanger that is nothing more than a tent on a field with absolutely nothing inside it. The Gauteng field hospital has got no oxygen that's being supplied to that particular hospital. It is a Potemkin village. It is absolutely not a field hospital. So I think the President this evening needs to actually urgently get to grips with what is happening on the ground, instead of trying to lull South Africans into some sense of complacency that his government's got everything under control. Should admit the fact that this government has squandered this lockdown and get to grips with creating a Marshall Plan now to get us through this crisis. And that means repurposing factories to make sure we have oxygen facilities, to urgently take money that they're about to waste on bailing out the e-tolls project and SAA, and redirect that money urgently to creating real field hospitals that will be able to make sure that citizens who require medical assistance are able to get that medical assistance.
John, should we not admit, though, that we pushed to open social and economic activity too soon?
Not at all. We had to do it. Unlike many other countries in the world that have got the cushion, our economy was in very, very deep trouble. And so what the President should have used is used the hard lockdown that we were into to be able to prepare properly. The truth of the matter is we've had one of the longest and hardest lockdowns in the world. It's come at a huge economic price. And as we've seen this evening from the President's speech, it's not yielded anywhere near the results that it should have.
True.
And I think that government should be answering those questions.
Well, we are here now. We have not managed to strengthen the health system in the 120 days. It's obvious because of the strain, and the hospitals that are telling you that they're overwhelmed. The next phase now is to mobilize society. What is the DA doing to assist there? Because the DA has got to come on board, certainly, in that.
Well, of course we need to come on board, but we don't run the purse strings. Government's got those purse strings. So instead of wasting the billions that you're about to throw down the dark hole that is South African Airways, before you bail out the e-tolls project, before you pour more money into failed states and entities, let's build field hospitals. Let's ban large outdoor gatherings and encourage people to meet outdoors. Let's build awareness. Let's take up the offer of the private sector to assist with testing. The private sector has outstripped the public sector 10 to 1 with testing and turning it around. Where's the partnership? Where's the Marshall Plan? What we heard from the President tonight was that it's South African citizens' fault that we are now sitting in this crisis, not the fact that his government has completely failed to prepare and has squandered one of the longest, hardest lockdowns in the world that's come at the cost of the lives and livelihoods of many South Africans, for absolutely no purpose whatsoever. His government is no nearer to being prepared for this crisis than it was when we first went into the lockdown.
Right.
And I think the President should be answering those questions this evening.